In this short video, we take a look at solving linear equations that involve many steps. So let's begin. Solve for x. -3 times the quantity -5x minus 1 quantity closed plus 21 equals 2 times the quantity 4x plus 1 quantity closed minus 4x. Wow! There's a whole lot going on in this equation. Let me see if I can break it down for you. The first thing I like to do when I see an equation that has multiple steps in it is I like to first simplify each side of the equation. So let me write that step down first. First thing I like to do is I like to simplify each side of the equation. Now, what does that mean to simplify each side of the equation? Well, there's two things involved when you simplify an equation, or simplify a side of the equation, okay? It's like simplifying an expression. That is, we're going to apply the distributive property if it's applicable. So that's the first thing, apply the distributive property. And then the second thing, after you apply the distributive property, would be to combine like terms, okay? So when we simplify each side of the equation, we're going to first apply the distributive property, and then we will combine like terms. Okay. So let's start with our equation, and let's look at the left side. Our equation is -3 times the quantity -5x minus 1 plus 21 equals 2 times the quantity 4x plus 1 minus 4x. As I mentioned, we'll start with the left side, and we will apply the distributive property on the left side. That means I'm going to take this -3 and I'm going to distribute it into the quantity -5x minus 1. So let's multiply. -3 times -5x is going to give us positive 15x, and -3 times -1 is going to give us positive 3 or plus 3. So the left side actually becomes 15x plus 3 plus 21. Now that the distributive property is complete, I can continue to simplify the left side by combining like terms. What terms can be combined? Well, notice that the 3 and the 21 are our constants, and those are considered like terms, so we can put those two together by adding them up. That means the left side will become 15x plus 3 plus 21, which is 24. The 15x and the 24 are not like terms, so that's as far as I can simplify. I can't go any farther. We repeat those two steps of distributing and combining like terms on the right side now. So again, we start with distributing. We have 2 being multiplied by the quantity 4x plus 1. So I start by taking the 2 and multiplying it into the 4x and the 1. Doing this gives us 2 times 4x, which is 8x, and then 2 times 1, which is plus 2, minus 4x. Now that the distributive property is complete, I combine like terms. Notice this time my like terms are the variable terms, 8x and minus 4x. Putting those two together, 8x minus 4x, that gives us 4x plus 2. All right, so we've finished that first step, which is simplifying each side of the equation. We apply the distributive property, and then we combine like terms. Now we get to the good stuff. Now we're going to apply our addition-subtraction property of equality. So we are going to use the addition-subtraction property of equality. Now that's a big word. Those are big words. And what exactly am I talking about? The addition-subtraction property of equality. Well, the addition-subtraction property of equality tells us that if we add something to one side of the equation, we're allowed to do that so long as we also add it to the other side. And similarly, if I subtract something from one side of the equation, I can do that so long as I subtract it from the other side. And equations like a scale or a balance, as long as I do one thing to one side, I also do it to the other side. How does that help us? Well, the whole goal in solving an equation is to get x by itself. And so one of the first steps we want to do here with the addition-subtraction property of equality is we want to get all of our x terms together. Notice I have a 4x on the right side and a 15x on the left side. It'd be really nice if all the x's were together. Usually I like to bring my x terms to the left side, and so that means I would need to remove this 4x. I don't want him there on the right. In order to remove a positive 4x, I'm going to have to subtract 4x. So what am I going to do? Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move that 4x, and the way I'm going to move my 4x is I'm going to actually subtract 4x from the right side so that it goes away. If I do that from the right side, then I also have to subtract 4x from the left side. And so 15x minus 4x gives me 11x. Combining 15x minus 4x gives me 11x. I have used the addition-subtraction property of equality to take the variable terms and combine them to one side of the equation. Now I can repeat that process using the addition-subtraction property of equality. And doing that, I'm now going to get my constants together. Notice I have a constant 24 and a constant 2, but it'd be really nice if they were together on the same side. Since I put my variables on the left, I'm going to go ahead and put my constants on the right. That is, I'm going to move the 24. And because it's a positive 24, the way that I'm going to move the positive 24 is I'm going to subtract 24 from the left side. When I subtract 24 from the left side, the property of equality addition-subtraction property of equality tells me that I also must subtract 24 from the right side. And so that gives us 11x. The positive 24 and negative 24 cancel each other out. And so then I have 2 minus 24, which is negative 22. This completes the next step, which is the addition-subtraction property of equality. Now I apply the very last step to this equation, and that is I'm going to divide both sides of the equation. I'm going to use what's called the multiplication-division property of equality. The multiplication and division property of equality. And it's very similar to the addition and subtraction property of equality in that I am going to do the same thing to both sides of the equation. But this time, if I multiply something on the left side, I have to multiply it on the right. Or if I divide on the left, I have to divide on the right. So what do we want to do? We're isolating for x. Remember, the whole goal is to get x by itself. And to get x by itself, we have to get rid of the 11 that's being multiplied by x. The opposite operation of multiplication is division, and so to get 11x by itself, what I really want to do is I'm going to divide by 11. So we're going to divide this left side by 11. When I divide the left side by 11, the 11 divided by the 11 will cancel each other out and leave me just x on the left side. However, the property of equality states that we're going to have to do whatever we did on the left to the right, and that means we're also going to divide 11 on the right side. Simplifying, that gives me just x on the left, and negative 22 divided by 11, which is negative 2 on the right. This means the solution to our equation is x equal negative 2. The last step in solving is to always check our work. As long as we have something simple like an integer value, it's pretty quick and pretty simple to check our work. So let me put that down because that is a very important step. If you have time, you want to check your work. And what does that mean? You want to make sure that this answer x equals negative 2 does satisfy this equation and make it true. So let's rewrite our equation. Our equation was negative 3 times the quantity negative 5 times x. But if we're going to check our solution, that means in place of x, I want to put negative 2. And so really, I have negative 3 times the quantity negative 5 times negative 2 minus 1 plus 21. And I want to check and make sure, is that the same thing as having the right side, which is 2 times 4 times negative 2 plus 1 minus 4 times negative 2. Are these the same thing? Well, let's just do a little bit of quick math here. Inside, I have negative 5 times negative 2, which is 10, minus 1, which is 9. And negative 3 times 9 is actually negative 27 plus 21. And the question is that going to be the same thing as what I get on the right side? Well, negative 27 plus 21, that's just negative 6, correct? So we're going to make sure that we get negative 6 on the left side and the right side. So that's our goal now, okay? Negative 27 plus 21 is negative 6. Let's make sure we get that on the right side. Well, again, let's do some quick math here. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7. 2 times negative 7 is actually negative 14. Negative 14 minus 4 times negative 2, they get multiplied together, right? So that's negative 14 plus 8 using our order of operations. And negative 14 plus 8 is also negative 6. This means negative 2, when substituted back into our original equation, gave us negative 6 on the left and negative 6 on the right. It gave us a true statement. And because it's true, that means this answer is correct. And we have now completely solved this problem for x. Our solution is x equals negative 2.